Ever since man first cooked his meal over a fire and the tribe gathered round to eat and tell stories, music, in some form or another, has been inextricably linked to feasting. The evolution of this specific social aspect has developed through generations of cultures from the East to the West and has reflected its time and politics. History tells us of the ancients who gorged on spectacular culinary delights whilst listening to music and watching dancers entertain them. Mankind's urge to eat, drink and be merry has been documented by the Greeks and Romans to the courts of Henry VIII and as far from our own ways to the courts of China and India. Every layer of our society has been infused with the desire to escape to another world, a world without hate, regret, pain or suffering. The very things that ironically shape the modern soundtrack to our social time. The story of jazz began over a century ago and has still not ended.
Jazz started in the bordellos in New Orleans, and then it went into the sort of the open. It was in speakeasies during the Prohibition in America. Its history started in restaurants and nightclubs, and it developed. It was the popular music of its time in the 30s, so it developed in that sort of environment. And then from the 40s onwards, it also developed a concert energy as well, so people go and see it in concert halls.
The Volstead Act was this incredibly inane and ill-advised act passed by Congress to prevent the legalization of alcohol served, so clubs had to be very careful and quiet about how they served alcohol. And they said something about if you go down to this place and you come out of it, speak easy about it, because of course if you say too much, the word will get around and will be done and found out and rumbled.
The question we ask is really, who cares?
Jazz is about life. You know, it's about growth, you know, it's about composition. It's a way of life, you know? It's not just music, you know, it's a way of life.
Jazz is not only an expression, a musical expression, it's also a political and a social expression.
The way everything is brought into our homes via computers and television, we need to go out.
Okay, so we get that jazz is significant not only to individuals who love it or play it, but also in a social context and as a backdrop to a particular way of life. It seems that being surrounded by jazz says something about you and what life you like to lead. But why have it playing in a restaurant when you're trying to eat and make conversation? Apparently, old is new and people are looking backwards for inspiration.
Jazz is all about live music. Jazz is live. I mean, jazz is spontaneous. You know, it's like life. Life is spontaneous. You don't always think about what you're gonna do. It's like jazz. Jazz is composition on the spot.
Live music tends to create an incredible atmosphere and sort of as soon as people walk in the door and they see a piano or a guitar or anything, it's something more interesting than hearing a CD or a DJ with big headphones on.
There should be more live music in restaurants because I think music and people eating and drinking and, you know, mixing together goes hand in hand.
The music generally is an additional gift from the proprietors to the people who come to eat.
There has been so much in the media about what we eat that it's making some of us more conscious about our environment and how important it is to eat seasonal food, healthy food in particular, a more Mediterranean diet, and how the yob culture and the overindulgence in alcohol has been detrimental not only to our state of mind, but our image too.
It's that whole thing of there's somebody up there in charge that doesn't quite like the idea of the freedom of jazz. It's almost like people are saying to you, okay, you'll buy this kind of car, you'll listen to that kind of music, you'll wear that perfume, you'll do this, you'll do that. It's like everything is becoming media controlled, and that's affecting the whole social structure of how human beings actually operate on a day-to-day basis.
I don't know, I hate all cocktails. They're boring, they're just spirits with spirits and with more spirits, and they're too strong, and the flavor is actually not even that important. They're just great. I don't even know if I like jazz, but I can't say that I hate it anymore.
The job of the kitchen in relation to jazz is it's very creative and it's something from the soul. You know, the musicians are playing from their soul and we're cooking from our soul, so it's all about how you're feeling and, you know, it's all creativity.
Creativity crosses the boundaries. What appears to be inaccessible becomes easy to love, and what looks like a simple job has a multitude of layers that can make it as complicated and technical as you want.
Happy, sweet, sequestered days.
The more people drink, the louder they get, the more shrill their voices become, and that can be a really, really difficult scenario for a live musician to deal with. You know, for a musician that's up there on stage performing, and you've got this ka going on in the background over there, and you've got this drinking and glasses, and it's all just happening.
One of the few musical genres in which people can eat and drink and talk over it. You know, there's live recordings from early as the 30s and 40s through to the 70s and 80s and 90s, in which you not only hear the musicians, you hear the clutter of cutlery and conversation, and it adds to that. Jazz clubs have always had an atmosphere, rather than a concert hall with people sitting in rows.
I still feel that if you've got something important to say, and if your music speaks loudly enough, obviously we're not talking about volume loudness, so you can be playing and singing softly underneath all that noise, but if you've got something to say, somebody out there is going to hear it.
It is impressive how by adding the entertainment factor, the meal becomes a banquet. The banquet a feast, and the feast a celebration of excellence in gastronomy, refreshment and musicianship, of life. A microcosm of the world at large, unified in harmony, leaving behind prejudice and alienation. Jazz has always been around, and according to our perspective, to a more or less degree. But one thing is for sure, it is a living music that can be enjoyed in a contemporary setting as much as it was many years ago when it was the popular music of the time. And no one cared about how it was created, but rather how it makes us feel.
It's the first time we've been here to a jazz club. Very good.
The food was really lovely. We've had a great evening.
Very good.
We just fancied a good night out in London town, actually. Work hard and just want to have a good time. That's the main thing.
Very nice.
Great time.
Just had a birthday party with 20 friends and we had a very nice 3-course meal with background jazz, and it was very nice.
Fantastic.
Moody.
Vibey.
Crunchy.
Chilled.
Tasty.
Bubbly.
Fun. Fresh.
Jazz is a journey.